Hello students. Today, like from the past few months, you all have been in front of your maybe mobile or even a laptop, a computer, a desktop, anything as such. You are in front of them listening to classes, listening to various lectures given by various lecturers in order to gain knowledge. My class, what I'm going to teach today is related to the same what I have been experiencing in the past few days, a few months. Human capital formation in India. So when you say human capital formation in India, my topic we'll be learning in two different parts. One is related to the concepts of human capital formation. And that concepts, we're going to relate it with our country, India. Since we are going to learn about Indian economy or economic development of India in the part B, we will study about human capital as a concept, as well as we are going to relate it with Indian economy. Okay, let us understand what is human capital. All human beings, as well as any country, we always try to move forward. We always try to develop ourselves. We always try to improvise ourselves. In what way? Human beings, we try to earn more of money. We try to consume more of goods. It might be in terms of necessaries. It might be in terms of luxuries. It might be in terms of comforts. We try to find or make our life as easy as possible. And also, in terms of countries, all the countries try to develop on their own. They try to improvise themselves. Now, we come across the concepts called as developed countries as well as developing countries. See here also, developing countries in the sense, the countries which are on the path of the development. Whereas developed countries means they have already developed. Now, how does development takes place? The development takes place based upon the kind of goods they produce, the kind of goods they consume, and also in what ways those goods are being produced. When we are producing commodities, we try to use resources. You would have already studied about resources and wants. Economics stands on these two concepts, wants and resources. We have resources which are scarce in quantity. Naturally, resources we classify into two. Natural resources as well as human resources. This human capital formation is related to human resource. I repeat, it is related to human resources. Myself as well as those students who are looking into this video, who are listening to the lecture, everybody are considered as human resource. Then what is human capital? Now what is the difference between human capital as well as human resource? When we say capital, this is used for producing another good. Capital as such, singly when you take, it is used for producing another goods. Now, we have capital with different types of capital. Physical capital, human capital, financial capital, intellectual capital. We have so many. But in this chapter, we are concentrating only on human capital. Now, what is this human capital? Conversion of human resource. Conversion of human resource into human capital. Human resource, as usual, like in our India, we have a great population, good number of population, and the entire population is considered as human resource. But the whole population cannot be used for in the production or any type of commodities. Now what we do in this case is, we try to convert human resource into capital. How do we convert? Now we try to convert this human resource capital by providing education, skills, training. Education, skills and training. So any individual, when we start giving them education, when we start giving them skills as well as training in different methods, we try to convert them into human capital, and that human capital is used to produce various commodities, So this is about the meaning of human capital. Now what is this human capital formation? In this three words, you have understood what is human capital, and then comes the word formation. Formation is this process of providing education, skills and the training to the human resource so that they can be converted into human capital. So that process is what we call it as human capital formation. Generally, all the countries, when they are in the process of development, they try to concentrate on developing the physical resource as well as the human resource. And when we consider the importance of both, natural resource as well as human resource, the most important is human resource itself or human capital. That is because any country which has more of human capital or in a better human capital can develop in a better way, faster as well as in an easy manner. See, all of us try to improvise ourselves in terms of getting educational qualification, either it is in terms of scientists, engineers or doctors, anything. Now these scientists, engineers, doctors, they strive to improvise the natural resource and produce various goods and services which can help us in increasing the income as well as developing the country. So in that way, human capital is more important when compared to the natural resources. Now how do we, how important is to invest on human capital? You have a question like, is it necessary to invest on human capital as such? Now, how important is the investment on human capital is very essential. In that case, natural resources may be available in plenty. We all know that the African countries have good number of natural resources. And also, we say that India is very rich in natural resources. But we are still lagging behind the Western countries. In terms of development. So what is required? Even though we consider ourselves to be rich in natural resource, we are not so much developed when compared to US or UK or anything as such. So what is required? We need to invest more on the human resources. Even though we have a large number of population, the educated population is very much important. Providing various skills as well as various educational levels in different fields, that is what is more important. So the main important thing is we have to invest more and more on now converting the human resource into human capital. Okay. When we come across human capital formation, what are the sources? Like sources of human capital formation. When we look into that, we have 5 sources of human capital formation. The first is investment on education. And second one, investment on health, or we say it as health expenditure. These are the 2 main sources of human capital formation. Even though we have 5 of them, in this chapter, we will be focusing more on these 2, education and health. First one, investment on education. Let us discuss more on this. What is the need for making investment on education? We all know, like every individual, every parent will have the basic aim that their kids have to get good education. What is the reason? See, when we come across the rural areas, most of you might be from rural areas. When we come across there, parents always say, we could not get any proper education. At least my kids have to get proper education. So we're going to admit them in the convent and all. So what is the need for this? Investment in education will lead to higher income. Will lead to higher income. We know, like as you get on higher and higher education, we will be getting a good job which fetches you higher income. So, investment on education, apart from giving you higher income, it will broaden your thoughts. Thoughts in terms of decision making. Economics is related to decision making. How do you utilize the natural resources which are scarce in quantity, and where will you allot them? Like what commodities are you going to allot them? When we consider that, we have to take proper decisions also. So, investment on education will lead to proper decisions. Decision making capability. Decision making capability. And also, like as we know, innovation is very important in economics. Innovating the products, innovating the ideas, innovating the techniques is more important. Because every product that is being developed or produced will go on with changes, improvisation. Their features will be improved. As you know, like earlier we had a mobile which was with keypads and black and white mobile, and there was not much animations and all. But today we have smartphones, and smartphones are basically because of innovations. Education will lead to innovations, because as we learn, we try to find out more and more, we try to explore more and more, and we come across innovative ideas, innovative products that will develop the economy, that will increase the production, that will increase the national income. So obviously your economy will develop when you invest more on education. And today you can find many number of educational institutions. Even the country, you might remember Right to Education Act. India is giving more importance to education by providing midday meal scheme and also free education, everything. That is because our country knows what is the importance of giving good education. And also, the second concept is investment on health. Health is also one more, again, an important concept in human capital formation. How? A healthy person, a healthy worker will be able to contribute more than the unhealthy worker, will be able to contribute more than the unhealthy worker. See, today in this existing time period where we have coronavirus spreading very actively, that virus, if it affects the individuals, naturally we will have to take holidays, we don't have to work, we cannot work, and also that impact will be there for more than 2 months. As usually you will be weak, you will have to skip the work, and that might affect your productivity, and that might also reduce the income sources. So investment on health is also very necessary, where a good healthy person can contribute towards the economic development. See, today in every village as well as in every city, the country is investing more on hospitals, providing hospital infrastructure. You might earlier say about 5 to 10 years back, ambulances, what is famous now today in terms of 108 ambulance. You can see many ambulances running on the road. Earlier, you will be having ambulances only with the private hospitals, major private hospitals, and the government hospitals used to have only a few ambulances. But due to the decisions taken by the government, you can find a number of ambulances providing free transportation facilities to the sick people. What is the necessity of that? See, we know the importance of giving like more importance to the health. A good health will always contribute to a good amount of wealth to the nation. In what sense? Now, if you are provided good amount of nutritious food, if you are provided with good amount of hospital facilities, naturally the chance of falling ill reduces. When the chance of falling ill reduces, you can attend the classes regularly, you can gain more knowledge, as well as you can improvise your knowledge. What about the employees? If you have a good health, the number of days the employees work will increase, the number of days they skip the employment will reduce, obviously their income levels will increase, productivity of the laborers will increase, and also the production of the commodity to the company will also increase, profits increases, and that internally leads to what we call it as economic development, when the production of the products increases. So, when we think about the investment on health, the expenditure on health happens on 5 dimensions. 5 dimensions. The first is preventive medicine. Preventive medicine. Second one, curative medicine. Third, social medicine. Fourth, clean drinking water. Fifth, hygiene. From the beginning, that is, as a child also, parents as well as in the school levels, they will be giving more importance towards hygiene, clean drinking water, and later on preventive medicine, curative medicine, social medicine, I will be explaining with the example of today's conditions. Now, investment on health includes these 5: preventive, curative, social medicine, clean drinking water, and hygiene. What is this preventive medicine? You all will be familiar with corona virus, as well as the research going on to find out medicine for corona, that is vaccine for corona. Obviously, we are finding out, or we are researching about corona vaccine in order to prevent it from spreading a lot. So the vaccine which is being developed, will come under preventive medicine. We try to prevent the diseases from occurring or spreading out. So that is called as, when you try to prevent, when you try to stop the diseases in the initial stage itself, that we call it as preventive medicine. We give the people with vaccinations, that comes under preventive medicine. Second is curative medicine. Again, in the case of coronavirus itself, people who fall ill due to coronavirus, they are given antibiotics, they are given HCG tablets, they are given vitamin C tablets. Now these tablets as well as medicines are given after the person is infected with the virus. That is curative medicine. You are trying to cure the illness. You are going to cure the diseases. So whatever the steps we take, whatever the kind of medication we give, after the person is infected or after the person falls sick, that comes under curative medicine. Now what is a social medicine? Again, when you use your mobile to make a call to your friends or to any person, the first thing which you hear from your mobile is about the information on corona. You would have heard about Amitabh Bachchan's voice giving you information about what are the steps that can be taken to avoid the spread of coronavirus. Now that is social medicine. And most of your students, when you go to your schools in the rural areas as well as in the cities, especially the rural schools, rural government buildings, on the compound, you will find some information on the various illness, the symptoms of illness, as well as the steps which has to be taken for them. those information is being provided by the government through various media. You will find it in the TV also, you will find it on the, as I said, the compounds also, and also people are coming out with, the district authorities are coming out with pamphlets or the papers, newspaper advertisements regarding the spread of various diseases as well as their symptoms, their medicines, and also the steps which can be taken to avoid them. Such kind of information being provided comes under social medicine. And then clean drinking water. Again, if we take the case of corona vaccine or corona disease, we always have an information being provided that we have to use hot water. When you boil the water, automatically the bacteria or any kind of worms that are available in the water, that are found in the water, that will die. So naturally, even before corona also, doctors used to specify, please use water which is warm and which has been boiled and cooled. That is because waterborne diseases are more effective than any other disease. So naturally, we have to use the boiled water which has been cooled down, and by way of using this clean drinking water, we try to avoid a number of diseases which affects human being. And even the governments have been taking a number of decisions in terms of providing clean drinking water. They themselves try to reduce the amount of germs or even biological factors, and they try to provide clean drinking water to your household itself. The last is hygiene. From the beginning, from even the first standard or even your UKG section also, LKG, UKG section also, all schools, even parents also give importance to hygiene. I remember there's an advertisement regarding toothpaste. The kid says when the father is out to have a cup of coffee or something like that in the early morning as he wakes up, the kid asks the father, like showing him with a glass of water and all, the amount of dirt and the microorganisms which are present in the teeth, the overnight, that has to be cleaned. So naturally, that type of steps which we get from information which we get from the government as well as the parents, that is, you have to take bath daily, you have to brush your teeth twice, and all those steps, all those information, they come under hygiene. Because when you are maintaining hygienic conditions, individual hygienic conditions as well as the hygienic conditions surrounding your houses, naturally the spread of diseases reduces. You know, like the government authorities give you the information that avoid stagnant water nearby your houses. Why? Because stagnant water are the place where the mosquitoes breed. So naturally, when we avoid that stagnant water, the breeding of mosquitoes reduces, the diseases like malaria and all will also get reduced. So, preventive medicine, curative medicine, social medicine, clean drinking water, hygiene, which are the main components of the investment on health. If we give more importance towards this, obviously we can maintain a good health of the entire population, and also the number of working hours can be increased. We can increase the production of the commodities as well as we can increase the national income. That is the reason why education health has been given more importance. Okay, then what is the third source of human capital formation? The third source of human capital formation is migration. Investment being made on migration. Now, what is this migration? Migration is moving of a person from one place to another place, with an objective of settling down and finding new job with better income. See, migration means moving from one place to another place. One place to another place. But what type of movement? That is more important. We always move. Human beings keep on moving. Especially, see, for example, I travel from my home to my working place. That is not migration. Migration is a kind of permanent transfer from one place to another place for the sake of better jobs. Looking for better jobs. How does this migration happen? Generally, we see this migration from rural areas to urban areas. Rural areas to urban areas. And also from developing countries to developed countries. If you have any science students, like if you have a company of science students, if you are friends with science students, most of the science students, they think about doing medicine as well as engineering. Obviously, when they get into the medicine, when they become a doctor, most of the doctors, they try to go to abroad. What for? With an intention that they can get more income in the abroad. And also rural students who are from the rural background, they are born and brought up in rural areas, they study there, but once they get a higher education, once they are well educated, they move to the urban areas. That is just the main intention is to get higher income and also lead higher standard of living. Now, how does it happen? See, migration involves certain costs also. Migration involves certain costs. What kind of cost? First of all, you will have to invest on education. You will have to invest on education. Second thing is cost of movement. Cost of movement. When you are traveling from one place to another place, as an example, when you move from India to United States or United Kingdom, for the sake of getting a job, you will have to pay for the flight tickets, you will have to search the accommodation over there. Now, such costs which are involved in the transportation as well as finding new homes, that is a particular accommodation place, that kind of cost is what we call it as cost on migration. Cost on migration. Fine. As an individual, we try to invest. We try to incur cost on migration. What is the result of that migration? We get, as I already told you, higher income. Imagine an individual by name A. He migrates from, he is earning, say for example, around 10,000 per month in India. He is earning 10,000 rupees per month in India. And he tries to migrate to a different country. Take for example, US itself. There, he tries to get a job and he gets an income of just rupees 9,000. Is it a viable option to migrate to US just to earn 9,000, whereas he is getting 10,000 in the domestic country itself? No. When migration happens, the income should be more than 10,000. It would be more than 10,000. That is the reason why the people are migrating. So obviously, the cost which is involved in the migration should be lesser than the higher income that is there. When people migrate from one place to another place, when they earn higher income, that higher income will be more than the cost of transportation, cost of accommodation, cost of movement from one place to another place. So, investment on migration is a form of human capital formation, because after investing on the accommodation, transportation and all, you are getting higher income. So, that leads to human capital formation, which will result in higher national income as well as a good amount of development to the economy. Then, what is the fourth source of human capital formation? Fourth is on-the-job training. On-the-job training. Now, you are all familiar with what is called as training. Training is an individual is being trained in a particular field. He is given knowledge, He is being imparted with knowledge in a particular field. Now we also get training. Trained in what? Today I am using the board, blackboard, or in this case, green color board. I am using chalk piece. I am teaching in front of you. But in the advanced world, we are using computers, smart classes, and smart classes. If I have to use it, I have to be trained in using smart class. I have to get prepared with the PPTs. I have to use the computer. I should have the knowledge of computer. If I use the computers, if I want to use the computers, my way of teaching will also differ. It will improvise. The students can get improvised teaching methods, way of teaching. If I want to use the computer, I have to have the knowledge of computers. So I have to be trained in how to use the computers, how to use the smart class. That is the training part. Now what is this on the job training? Employees who are working in a factory or in an office, on the job itself, that is while they are working itself, they will be given training. Another option is that, see, when you are being appointed for a particular job, before joining the job also, you will be given training. Now that is not the case of what we are learning here. We are learning about employees who are already working, they are getting the training. So training those workers who are already in the job is what is called as on-the-job training. Now, what is the logic behind on-the-job training and human capital formation? What is the connection between human capital formation and the on-the-job training? As I told you earlier, when I am using this board and chalk piece and all, the method of teaching is the traditional method. But today, most of the private schools and also private colleges, the students who are studying in those, they are familiar with smart class. Smart classes where you can have animations, where you can have videos, where you can have text in different options, like different colored text, different animations. So when you are having such kind of classes, smart classes, the education or the knowledge which is being imparted will have more effectiveness, Many of us are familiar with students who are not interested in this traditional method of teaching. But as you put on the smart class, everybody will be concentrating on that, and the amount of knowledge which they gain will also improvise. Okay, I'll give you one more example regarding this on-the-job training. Employees, take for example a driver who is employed in KSRTC. He will be always on the job itself, be driving the buses and all. But once in a time period, say a case of 1 year or 6 months once, they will be given training so that their skills will be improved. Earlier we used to have only the normal buses. Today we have the Volvo, Airavata buses, we have CNG buses which are being run on the road. So the drivers who were accustomed with the earlier buses, they have to be given training so that they will be trained with the driving of even Volvo buses also. That will improvise the revenue to the corporation, that is the KSRTC. That will improvise the income to the government. So naturally, on-the-job training will improve the productivity of labor. On-the-job training can be given in two different methods. First is training at the job site itself. That is, whatever the factory or the office where the employee is working, he might be put under an experienced person or a supervisor. That is a higher official. So, at the particular working place, if an employee is being trained under a supervisor or under an experienced worker, that is called as on-the-job training at the job site. This is the first option. The second is training off the job site. That is, you are being off the campus. We say it as off the campus training. That is, the employees are not given training at the working place itself. They are sent to a different place, a training school or a training institution or any kind of development institutions which offer training to the employees. They might be sent to the campus outside the employment place, and there they will be given training by the experienced, efficient institutes. That is, they are sent out of the working site and there they will be trained up. Now, what is the advantage of giving training to the employees on the job, to the organization? Organization is nothing but the employer or the factory as such. Now, what will the benefit they get if they send their employees to the training? As and when the employees get trained, I have told you earlier also, they'll have a higher productivity. The productivity of labor will increase. When the productivity of labor increases, the income which is earned by the organization or the profit which is earned by the organization or the factory will also increase. So, on-the-job training will result in increase in revenue or profit. Increase in revenue or profit. For whom? For the factory or the organization. So, this increase in revenue or profit is due to the direct benefit of giving on-the-job training. But on-the-job training will involve cost. Cost to whom? Cost to the organization. Cost to the organization. All organizations will insist on the employee to work under them for a given specified time period. That is, they will enter into a contract. If an employee is sent to a training outside or in the campus itself, they will be bound to the working conditions of that particular organization. They will bound to work in that particular organization for a given time period, because the organization, whatever the investment they have made in that on-the-job training, they have to get back it. They have to get back. And how do they get back? They get back in terms of increasing in revenue or profit. So naturally, all organizations will embody the particular person or the employee to stay in their own organization or stay in their work in their own factory for a given specified time period, so that whatever the cost they have incurred on the job training will be got back in terms of increase in revenue or profit. So this is about on-the-job training. Next, the last one is about investment on information. Investment on information. Okay, this is the last source of human capital formation. What is investment on information? See, when I came here, like in order to teach you people about human capital formation, I had to go through various books as well as information being collected from internet. Now, when I go through the books, when I want to access the books, when I want to access the internet, I will have to spend on maybe data, that is for a mobile connection, and also I'll have to purchase the books. That is the cost for me. That is the cost for me. In the same way, when it is related, when investment on information is related to human capital formation, after your studies, after your education, you will all be in search of jobs. The best example, you will always be on the search of jobs. Now, how will you search for the jobs? How will you come across what are the jobs available? in which areas you can find the jobs. You try to access, you try to get information of available jobs from various sources. Among them, one best example is we have various websites which offer you jobs, like websites basically for job listings. For example, Naukri.com. See, such kind of websites, they provide you all information regarding what kind of jobs that are available, and they'll also give you information about what is the amount of remuneration that you get, what are the qualifications, everything, each one of them. And also, when you want to get such kind of information, you'll have to access the internet, you'll have to go to the newspapers, and for all that, you'll have to incur expenditure. You'll have to incur expenditure. So, incurring expenditure or spending money on getting information, spending money on getting information, we call it as investment on information. Even now, you are accessing your mobile, you are accessing your computers. If you want to access, if you want to gain knowledge, what you have done, you have got an internet connection, you have spent money on data. Now all this is what? It is the cost which you are incurring just to gain knowledge, Once you get knowledge, your educational levels will increase, your productivity will increase, you will find jobs also, everything will happen. Now, you are investing money in terms of mobile, the data, connection, everything in order to get information about your education levels, about the job opportunities that are available, all such things. So, investment on information is also a part of human capital formation, where every individual try to access information regarding, maybe in terms of the jobs. And one more thing is about the courses. Say first year students, when you are passed out of SSS, passed out of 10th standard, each one of you would have searched for which college you are supposed to join, which college will offer you a good education, which college if you join you will get better results, where you can get good education. You would have wondered about it. Fine. After wondering, you would have discussed this matter with your friends, with your parents, or with your elders. It's not just discussion. You will also would have gone through various newspapers where you have come across various ads given by the colleges that they provide such kind of facilities, such kind of this kind of facilities, everything. So when you access such kind of information through newspapers, internet websites, magazines, even your mass media, televisions, radio, you are trying to get information about various colleges, various educational aspects, and various job opportunities. And to access all of them, you need to invest, you need to spend money. That is one form of human capital formation, investment on information. Okay. In this class, what we have learned, I'll just summarize. First is about human capital. What is the meaning of human capital? And then we learned about human capital formation, the process of converting the human resources to human capital. And then we learned about the source of human capitalization, that we have 5 types of sources. The first is investment on education, and then second is investment on health, third one investment on migration, fourth is about on-the-job training, and the fifth is about investment on information. So this is about the first part.